If I don't have this done in 3 years, then there's going to be a one-term proposition. President Obama said this on February 2nd, 2009. Mr. President, it's been almost 4 years since you took office, and what do we have to show for it? We have had 43 months of consecutive unemployment above 8%. Our national debt has skyrocketed to $16 trillion. $16 trillion. And now we have a healthcare law that is damaging growth in the economy. I have followed Barack Obama's presidency closely, and I use sources to back up my claims. With the election less than a month away, we have to see why another 4 years of President Barack Obama could destroy our country. In my speech, I will explain why a second term for President Obama is a very, very bad thing. This is our national debt as it stands today. The number is in the upper left-hand corner. It's 16 trillion, 21 billion, 854 million, and $77,734. The madness has to stop. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor, the unemployment rate was above 8% for 43 consecutive months. President Obama's policies have had a direct effect on that number. In September 2012, that number dropped to 7.8%, but it was no thanks to President Obama and his policies. Another sign that our economy is only getting worse under Obama's watch is that our gross national product, our GDP, only grew by 1.3% in the second quarter of 2012. And economists say that the GDP needs to be at least 3% to promote growth. The 1.3 increase in the GDP was the weakest since the third quarter of last year, and one of the weakest since the recovery began 3 years ago, said Chris Williamson, chief economist for Market. The weakening was evident across businesses and consumers. Here is the unemployment rate for the last 3.5 years. Notice that under President Obama's watch, the unemployment rate has been above 8.3% almost the entire time, getting as high as 10%. President Obama promised us universal health care when he was running as a candidate in 2008. He promised that everyone would be entitled to health care under the law and that our health care costs would go down. Spending on health care rose 4.6% in 2011, up $4,500 per person on average, according to the nonpartisan Health Care Cost Institute. That's up from a 3.8 growth rate in 2010. Estimates are that healthcare costs will continue to skyrocket as the law is fully implemented in 2014. Not only has the average person's healthcare costs risen because of the law, but now businesses that employ over 40 people are now required by law to provide healthcare insurance to their employees. With the rising costs, this has become a major financial strain on the businesses, and to stay afloat, businesses are now cutting jobs to save money, and when they cut jobs, the employment rate goes up, and our economy continues to stagger. This chart shows the projected healthcare costs as far as 2019. Notice that it skyrockets in 2014, 2015, and 2016. In all this darkness, there is one bright spot. President Obama's foreign policy has been surprisingly aggressive against terrorists. He has aggressively used unmanned drone attacks and our military to track down and kill terrorists. He has used drones every couple of days, whereas President Bush only used them every 43 days. The use of these drones has led to the deaths of many terrorist leaders without putting American troops in harm's way. Props to the president on that. Another highlight of his presidency, President Obama ordered Navy SEAL Team 6 to raid and kill the mastermind behind the September 11th attacks, Osama bin Laden. In May of 2011, the terrorist leader was finally put to death for his crimes. The only thing that detracts from this accomplishment is that President Obama is taking credit for killing bin Laden and using it in political ads, but in truth, he sat safe in the White House Situation Room, thousands of miles away, while our elite team of SEALs took bin Laden down. Here are the American heroes responsible for taking down that murderer. Up to this point, I have discussed President Obama's record, and now I will tell you why re-electing the president is a very, very bad thing. The president doesn't seem to be concerned with the massive debt he's racked up. The first big sign that President Obama doesn't care about the debt or the spending is that he and his party haven't bothered to pass a budget in the Democrat-controlled Senate in over 1,000 days. And they are required to pass a budget each year, by the way, so breaking the law, maybe. While the Republicans in the House passed a budget, it was instantly shot down by the administration. This leaves the Democrats free to spend however much money they want, until they reach the debt ceiling, that is, and then raise the debt ceiling. The administration isn't serious about the debt because, like most politicians, Barack Obama doesn't care, not a whit. Democrats are willing to move heaven and earth for the things they do care about. They are prepared to whip up political turmoil and put the presidency and Congress on the line to pass Obamacare, yet they won't offer a budget lest anyone glimpse their true priorities. And we could tax all the millionaires into poverty, but it still wouldn't make a dent without reforming the spending, according to David Harsanyi. No commentary needed here. Dinesh D'Souza postulates in his book, Obama's America, on making the American dream, that President Obama has a motive for not trying to lower the debt or the spending. He claims that Obama is increasing the debt to record levels on purpose in order to cripple the United States as an economic power and to raise the standard of living in poorer countries. In his book, he writes, using debt to bring down the colonial oppressor, America, and level the standard of living between America and other developed countries. Through debt, we become beholden to the rest of the world. Debt will make them richer and us poorer. Thus, debt evens the scales. He continues on. Obama well knows how debt can paralyze a country. We know that because he wrote about it. In The Audacity of Hope, Obama attacks the Bush deficit. Obama writes, we now have an annual budget deficit of almost $300 billion, Obama said. So far, he added, we've been able to get away with this mountain of debt because foreign central banks, particularly China's, want us to keep buying their exports. But this easy credit won't continue forever. At some point, foreigners will stop lending us money, interest rates will go up, and we will spend most of our nation's output paying them back. I think President Obama knows our debt is destroying us, and I think that he doesn't care because he wants us to even the scales between America and the rest of the world. It's an extremely scary thought, and if D'Souza and I are right, and the president is reelected, dark times are ahead for America. The world could be a pretty scary place in 2016. Israel brought to its knees, America's defenses weakened, the Muslim world united. But America would still be a rich country. How does Obama change that? How does he restore the world before colonialism? Actually, there is a way, and it's a beautiful way. I call it debt, as a weapon of mass destruction. So far, during his presidency, Obama has weakened America in several ways. So far, I've mentioned the economy, the debt, and health care. Sadly, there are even more ways that he has weakened America. He has completely withdrawn us from Iraq before ensuring stabilization in the region, and by announcing our withdrawal date publicly in both Iraq and Afghanistan, he basically told our enemies to wait us out until we are gone and then to resurface. It could potentially render all our time there a waste if they return after we're gone. Next, he has weakened us by reducing our nuclear arms stocks. While this might seem like a good idea for peace, in reality, it's a dangerous approach. Other nuclear powers aren't agreeing to disarm themselves, and so by reducing our arms, it puts us in a very precarious position if they team up against us and have a larger combined stockpile of arms. At the start of his presidency, Barack Obama promised us by 2011 our nation would be well on its way to recovery, and if it wasn't, he didn't deserve a second term. I agree with that statement. Very much so, in fact. He doesn't deserve another term because he didn't fix things, and he's only made things worse. 2008, then Senator Obama campaigned on hope and change. After almost 4 years of his presidency, we have certainly had a lot of change. But where is the hope? Right now in 2012, we don't have any hope for our future if President Obama is reelected.